Hello and good morning to Labour Social here on Morning Brew on Labour Social. We're having some technical problems today. Not least, I don't have all my lights on. That's not good, is it? I've got the mosquitoes following me around. So, morning to Cathal there. Just one moment. I'm just going to put up the outro screen for 1 second, I think, if you don't mind, because I've got to go and sort my lights out. But for some reason, technical problems this morning. It wouldn't let me set this up in the normal way. I don't know why. It kept on coming up with an error. So I've had to do it a slightly different method. Not that you're really bothered about that, but I'm just going to put the title card up for a moment and I'll be back in a second. Right then, hello, welcome and good morning and welcome to Labour Social. I'm Graham Hughes and today we're going to be talking about government waste because the government want to let you know that everything is going absolutely swimmingly, the economy is doing great and they're not costing us £380 million a day for 5,000 days. That sounds a bit unrealistic, doesn't it? Well, I'll tell you what, Carol Vorderman helpfully made a video about this yesterday, so I'm just going to play the video for you to watch in full. So here you go.
It's been 5,000 days since David Cameron became Prime Minister on May the 11th, 2010. Since then, the national debt has grown, on average, every single day, by £380 million. Yes, £380 million every single day for 5,000 days. Here's David Cameron back in June 2010 telling us that the national debt, back then, stood at a mere £770 billion.
Today, our national debt stands at £770 billion. The responsible thing to do is to get a grip on the debt.
By the end of November 2023, the Office for National Statistics had said that the national debt had grown to an enormous £2,670 billion. That means in the 13 and a half years of Tory rule and obvious mismanagement, the debt had grown by £1,900 billion. Or another way of putting it, £1.9 trillion.
But no government will be in the national interest unless it deals with the biggest threat to our national interest, and that is the deficit.
And it couldn't be more important for us. If you divide that increase in the national debt of £1,900 billion during the 5,000 days of Conservative Party rule, then you will get an average increase of £380 million every single day. Which begs one very important question. Where has all the money gone?
My God, I don't know if the audio was okay there. Let me know if it was cutting out. It looked a bit weird on the old monitor there. Sounded all right to me, but obviously I'm local. This is a local stream for local people. Where's that money gone? £380 million a day. A day! That's how much this Tory cavalcade of clown car shit on fire going off a cliff has cost us. Our debt is now £2.6 trillion, and we have to service that debt. We have to pay money on that debt. It's gone up £1.9 trillion in the last 14 years. £1.9 trillion. And do you know these Tories who still want to whine on about Gordon Brown selling the nation's gold? He sold our gold, he did, they say. He bought stuff with it. It's not like we lost all that money. It could have been worth more if he had held on for a few more years, but we don't know that because we don't control the value of gold. That's why they sold it, because we have no gold mines. We're not Papua New Guinea. We're not South Africa. We don't have any gold mines here. So why would we peg how much money we have on the basis of a commodity that we cannot control the price of? in any way, shape or form. That seems madness to me, but, you know. Where's it gone? David Downey, straight in there to the Cayman Islands. Yeah. Would that be a surprise to anyone? Would anyone think, oh, no, I didn't expect that. I expect the Tories to do something as horrible as that to, you know, the country in which we all live. That's how Tories save money. But, you know, this is why when Boris Johnson talks about £250,000 a year to write a column for a newspaper, this is why he calls it chicken feed. Because you've got to understand how big a trillion is. It's 1,000,000,000. Okay? So a trillion is enough to give every man, woman, and child in Liverpool, the whole city of Liverpool, it's enough to give them £2 million each. The whole population of Liverpool gets £2 million each. That's how much a trillion is. I've tried to describe this before in terms of £50 notes stacked up on the floor. So you have one stack of £50 notes. If you have a stack of 1,000,000, it's about 6'6", a tall man or woman. You have a billion £50 notes worth of £50 notes. It'd be twice the height of the highest building in the world, Burj Khalifa. It'd be about 1.5 kilometers in the sky. And then, if you go to a trillion, which is an order of magnitude bigger, your stack of £50 notes wouldn't just reach the International Space Station, it would be 5 times higher than the orbit of the International Space Station. That's how much money the Tories have lost. In fact, you have to double that because it's 1.9 trillion. It's not just 1 trillion, it's 1.9 trillion pounds. So that's almost 10 times higher than the International Space Station. And that is what our government have spent their money on, our money on, borrowing on the nation's credit card against our children's futures. And what have they got to show for it? Sweet FA. Our NHS is on its knees. No one can get to see a dentist. Hundreds of children each year are being admitted to A&E because of their teeth. What is this? Victorian squalor? Victorian London? It gets worse. The gap now between real wages and the cost of buying a house is the highest it has been since the 1880s. When these boomers go, well, I had to deal with, 10% inflation, interest rates on my mortgage. Oh, I dealt with it. Yeah, because you bought your house for £2.50, no offence, and now it's worth 250,000. You bought your house for a fiver, it's now worth £500,000. You bought your house for a tenner, it's now worth £1 million. And because the Tories have destroyed everything about this nation, especially the economy, if you won £1 million on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in 2000, it was worth £1 million. Now, if you won that same £1 million that you won in 2000, it would be worth a fraction of that. It would be worth around 600,000. Not quite half, but getting there. When you won £1 million in the year 2000, you could probably buy 10 houses for that. Seriously, you could buy 10 houses, decent houses, for that, for £1 million. Now, in London, 3-bedroomed house, you can maybe buy one. The Tories have destroyed everything. Your audience contains a lot of boomers. Yeah, no offence. Super chats are open. You lucky bastards. Oh, your pensions. You're trying to explain to a millennial what a pension is. They go, what? Right. It gets worse. Because Carol made another video this morning, which I'm going to share with you. And this is to do with the fact that she's teaming up with the Good Law Project, Julian Morn, in order to expose the dodgy PPE contracts that went out. So for your viewing pleasure, here's a bit more cavil.
We've just run the numbers and we can reveal that 7 companies
which landed contracts worth more than a staggering £611 million through the VIP lane, have shut up shop. More than half of this total was for equipment that was totally useless, £336 million worth. During the pandemic, the Tories set up the VIP lane, giving some companies priority access for massive contracts to supply PPE. 4 years later, 14% of those companies have stopped trading. One company, owned by a Tory councillor, bagged a VIP lane contract worth £276 million in 2020. At least £183 million worth of this PPE has been deemed unfit for NHS use. But the company went into liquidation in August 2023. Now these companies have folded, there's very little prospect that any of this wasted money can be recovered. But it's not too late to go after all the others. We're investigating more of these shady deals in the VIP files so that the ministers who waved them through without due diligence can be held to account. Follow us and you will be the first to know.
My God. £276 million of our money, of your money that you have paid in tax, that you've paid in income tax, that you have paid in VAT on everything that you buy, pretty much. Strange VAT rules in this country. All that money that you've spent, that you've paid, taxes on your earnings, taxes on your savings, because you have to pay taxes on your savings. The very wealthy don't. 276 million went to a Tory councillor. A Tory councillor, of which 183 million was unfit for NHS use. So, what you have to do here, you have to actually add the 183 million to the 776 million to get your actual figure of just how much these Tories have cost us. And just a quick back of the envelope calculation, I might be wrong, I think that comes to 459 million pounds. That councillor cost us, Tory councillor. I don't know if they can't be named for legal reasons. But my God, my God, my God, that is an eye-watering sum of money. That's nearly £500 million that this councillor has cost us. And then he wraps up his business and waltzes off into the sunset. Meanwhile, sub-postmasters who were accused incorrectly of stealing a few £1,000s were taken to jail, lost their livelihoods, some took their own lives. And it's the same group of people doing this to us. I can't stress that enough. Whether it's Paula Reynolds at the post office, or whether it's Jacob Rees-Mogg, or whether it's Boris Johnson or Rishi Sunak, it is the same crowd of people. It is the upper class set, the people born into money, the people who went to all the right schools, made all the right contacts, greased all the right palms. You would think that these people, after the 17th failure, that would be the end of it. But no, they continue to fail upwards and continue to make horrific amounts of money off the backs of you and I. And one thing that really, really winds me up, and I tend to try and be kind of like a little bit, chill about personal insults and stuff like that. I am ginger. I am a ginger specky four eyes who wears a silly hat, and I'm from Liverpool. All that jazz, yeah. But what really boils my piss is the fact that these people are living the life of Riley and they get away with it. They get away with it all the freaking time. And people say, yeah, but Labour will be just as bad. And I'm looking at them going, are you insane? Do you think for a moment the newspapers that would not let Keir Starmer get away with buying a field, buying a donkey sanctuary for his mum. We wouldn't let him get away with having a beer with a curry, one single beer, while the Prime Minister of the country was having numerous teenage house parties with people shagging in the cupboards, breaking swings, pissing wine up the walls, snorting lines of cocaine like you would not believe, like it's some kind of Pablo Escobar leaving do. They didn't even mention them. You know what I mean? When the report came out about the parties, what did the tabloids say? Oh, was that it? You think they'll let Keir Starmer get away with having a Labour councillor rip off the taxpayer to the tune of 459 million? Because the reason I put that figure down is because it's not just the 276 million that it cost us, that we gave to this company run by a Tory councillor. It's the fact that 183 million of it was unusable, so we had to spend another 183 million to buy usable stuff. So that money's gone, and then more money goes as well. And these bastards, these Tory bastards, Michelle Mone and a horrible husband, and this sleazy Tory councillor, and all the rest of them, and Matt Hancock's pub landlord, they kill people. They killed people because they didn't supply them with the PPE that they needed. Do you remember people using bin bags? Doctors, nurses, hospital staff using bin bags because they couldn't get the correct gowns, they couldn't get the correct masks. Because the Tories ignored companies that could have supplied this stuff, who have supplied this stuff for years, maybe decades. And they gave contracts to their mates who set up a company the month before with £5 in the account. And they gave them contracts worth hundreds of millions of pounds. So people going, oh, Labour will be just as bad. Fuck off. Just no. Just like, they literally can't be. Because the tabloids, don't forget, 80% of the press in this country is run by the Tories. It's not even like owned by the Tories. It's run by the Tories. The people who write for these rags are Tories. The people who edit them are Tories. The people who own them are Tories. Non-dom or foreign, born Tories, but still Tories nonetheless. And they won't let Keir Starmer get away with buying a donkey sanctuary for his mum. The bastard. This week in Parliament, the Prime Minister tried to smear Keir by holding up a textbook about European law that Keir Starmer had co-authored. How dare he be an author about law, which he knows a lot about, former Director of Public Prosecution. It's just absolutely staggering. And then the attempts to tie Keir Starmer into the post office scandal, which is a bit of a weird one, because it's like, oh, well, he should have been doing... No. The post office could bring its own criminal investigations, could bring its own criminal charges against people. Didn't need to use the police, because for whatever reason, for 300 years, the post office, institution of the state, could investigate people for crimes against the post office. And they did. 700 of them. Some of whom aren't with us today as a result of that. And I'm going to make a video. I'm in the middle of making a video. I didn't get it finished yesterday. But it's basically going to be, the gist is going to be, spoilers. It's going to be, if you are in a position where you can put up with another 5 years of this, if you think you're going to survive that, if you think your parents are going to survive and your children are going to survive, crack on. Slag off Keir Starmer at every opportunity. Bully for you. I'm really happy for you and your family that you're going to be safe and warm and you're going to have a job and you're not going to be on the poverty line. You're not going to be made homeless. You're not going to get some horrible disease that, you're going to have to wait for 24 hours in A&E to get diagnosed, and by then it's too late. I'm glad for you. Clap, clap, clap. But for the rest of us, there's nothing more important in our lives this year than getting the Tories out. And Keir Starmer, love him or loathe him, is the only way out of this mess. Labour are the only ladder out. There is no other way of doing it. And it's not just that we need to beat the Tories, and I've said this a million times, we need to destroy the Tory party. Like what happened in Canada in 1993, when the Conservative Party of Canada was taken down to just 2 seats. 2 seats in the whole of Canada. And they were the ruling party, and they went down to 2 seats. And then within 10 years, they were defunct. That's what we're aiming for. Because the Tories can't just be beaten. They have to be destroyed as a warning to people in the future to never, ever, ever allow a shower of shit like this into government again and let them get away with it. I want them all in jail. I want their party defunct, and I want them in jail for their crimes. Their many, many crimes. If you can put a sub-postmaster in jail for the accusation of stealing £5,000, then we can send the Tories to jail for stealing £1.9 trillion. Maybe that's just a statistic to a lot of people, as in 1 death is a tragedy, 1 million is a statistic, but that is, I think, 1.9 trillion years in jail. That'll do me. Actually, take it down a magnitude. How about 1.9 billion years in jail? How about 1.9 million years? How about 1.9 thousand years in jail? Hey, what about 1.900 years in jail? Take it down orders of magnitude. We'll be lenient. They've got to go. They've absolutely got to go. I don't know what's happening with the tomorrow's papers today. It's not seeming to like me today. It's coming up with a thing saying that it's not loading up properly, but I'm going to try and bring that on in a second. So I'm going to jump into the chat now. Rant over. Exactly. Hopefully prison for Mona and her husband. Carol is doing sterling work, says Nick and Diff. I couldn't agree more. Benny says, why can't the money be reclaimed from those companies that have gone into liquidation? Surely criminal proceedings can take place. Yeah, Benny, it can. But in America, for instance, this disgraced former mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani, has been sued for $150 million for defamation against 2 electoral workers in Georgia. And he's declared bankruptcy. And they're saying now they might not be able to get any money out of him, because that's what the rich do. They declare bankruptcy. When I was in Dubai in 2010, traveling through, hoping to get a cargo ship over to Pakistan and India, I saw coming out of the along the train, you kind of elevated. They have an elevated train that runs along, and you can see past these billboards, which are at the side of the road. Normally, if you're on the road, you can't really see very, very well. But on the train, you've got this nice little view of thousands of parked cars in the desert. And the reason why all these cars were there, luxury cars, there were Lamborghinis there were Ferraris, there were Jaguar E-types, all kinds of stuff. They've been left at the airport when everyone fled the country in 2008, because in Dubai, where you can go and you don't have to pay tax and you earn loads of money and everything's made of gold and it's all really tacky. They've got no bankruptcy law, so you can't declare yourself bankrupt. Can't declare your company bankrupt. If you owe 1.9 trillion pounds to whoever, you go to jail, and then when you get out, you still owe that money. Maybe that's a better system to have. I don't know. What else have we got here? How long would your video be if you actually listed everything the Tories have done to destroy the UK, starting with the banking crash? Well, exactly, Admiral Pegasus. And who made a lot of money out of the banking crash? I think you'll find that was Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak made an absolute mint out of the banking collapse in this country. He helped it happen. And then his party has presided over the biggest drop in living standards ever. Not even just like since the war. No, ever. We've had the longest stagnation of our economy in history. It didn't take this long to get back on its feet after World War I or World War II. And as I keep banging on about, our economy in 2007 was worth $3 trillion. Look it up. Google it. Now it's worth $3 trillion. And the 10 years before, from 97 to 2007, when Labour were in power, our economy doubled from $1.5 trillion to $3 trillion. It doubled. And the Tories go on TV with their old school chums like Laura Kunsberg, and they say, oh, well, you know, Labour always leave the economy in a worse state than they found it. Oh! No, they didn't. They didn't. Even accounting for the credit crunch, the economy was still over $1 trillion wealthier after Labour left office last time. $1 trillion. And considering our GDP is only around, $3 trillion a year, yeah, you kind of look at that and go, yeah, I think that it's the Tories who have done the damage here, because not just the fact that our economy hasn't grown, but our population has. And that means per person, per capita, our GDP has gone down from around $50,000 per person to around $45,000 per person. A loss of $5,000 for every man, woman, and child in this country. In this country, every single one, every baby, every elderly person, $5,000 a year, thanks to the Tories. Unbelievable. Rishi was happy to do it because he's a Tory, and it was a Labour government in 2008. It was his duty for Queen and Party. Indeed, says Hugh. Mike says bankrupts and their dependents should have to exist on universal credit until bankruptcy is discharged. Yeah, Mike. You have to work. Work it off. Work it off. Do you know what? If you can't work, don't accrue that kind of debt. But this is the thing that winds me up. Obviously, you're learning a few things that wind me up today. Michelle Moan's husband, that Barrowman creep, and her sitting in that interview with Kunsberg, probably an old school chum. Although Michelle Moan went to a state school, but that's not the point. They actually said that they took a risk. They earned that £60 million they took from the taxpayer during a pandemic. It wasn't profiteering. No, that was something that you got shot for during the war. Yeah, no, it wasn't profiteering. It was a sum of money because they were taking a risk. No, they weren't. No risk whatsoever. It was a government contract. They had to put nothing down. They literally had to make a phone call and order some stuff from China. That's all they had to do. They literally had to tell someone else to make that phone call. They didn't do it themselves. It's not like they were sitting there by the phone all day, ringing up the helpline trying to get through. No. They said, we'll pay you £2.50 an hour. You call them up and get this PPE sorted. No idea. No clue about PPE. Didn't know that hospital gowns need to be double bagged so we know that they're sterile. The single bag they can rip. Not sterile. Has to be double bagged. I didn't know that. Did you know that? No, because we don't supply PPE. I'll tell you who did know that. Suppliers of PPE in this country who were ignored in favour of mate to the Tories and the VIP lane. And they lied about it. They lied and lied. And they said, but we lied to the press. No, you lied to us. You lied to Parliament. You lied to the Queen. You lied to every single man, woman and child in this country. You lied to everyone in the world. Don't say you lied to the press. That's not what happened. The press are a megaphone for people to spout their shit. And you spouted your shit. And people read it and went, oh, well, there must be some, reasonable level of doubt in this. No, there isn't. These are awful, awful, awful people. And I can't stand the idea of living in this country for another year with these people in charge. But those out there who think they're going to do another 6 years with these people in charge and be fine, okay. I've got nothing to say to you. In other news, the Rwanda bill went to the House of Lords yesterday, and the House of Lords said, yeah, we'll take a look at this over 2 months. Scuppering any chance that Sunak will be able to get anyone on a plane at any time. Don't forget, not just every airline has said we're not taking any refugees. The MOD have said they're not taking any refugees to Rwanda. Everyone just refused to do it. Why? Why would someone not want to take a fight full of refugees to Rwanda. Well, maybe they'll be on the hook for when the charges come down from the international, criminal court. It could happen. Or how about from the European Court of Human Rights, which the Tories kept on saying this week, oh, it's a foreign court. It's a foreign court. No, it's not. That's, as someone else said, that's like calling the World Cup a foreign cup. Oh, we won this foreign cup thing. No. We're part of the European Court of Human Rights. We have British judges on the European Court of Human Rights. People can work on at the court if they're from Britain. No problem, because it's our court. It's an international institution. It's not a foreign institution. They want to make it sound like the French or the Germans or the Belgians or the Dutch are telling us what to do. But it's not the case. We're being held to the laws and the norms and the constitutions that were envisaged by our, forefathers, the people who were around at the end of the end of the Second World War, who said never again. So Sunak's not going to get anyone in his bloody planes. It's just not going to happen. Maybe he can fly them over in his private jet. Maybe that's where all the money went. Yeah. But the idea that anyone's going to be leaving on a plane is for the birds. But Sunak, he did a speech yesterday. He did a speech where he sort of threatened the House of Lords. this bit of privilege. Oh, I mean, could you imagine, like, posh people being given the power to make law for the rest of their lives just on the basis of who they used to go to school with? Yeah. This is the same Tory party that put Michelle Mone in the House of Lords, also put Ian Botham in the House of Lords, because the guy once accidentally tweeted a picture of his own cock. He put Claire Fox in the House of Lords, the famous defender of paedophiles, and the IRA. House of Lords. Okay. All right, that's what you want to do. Anyway, into the chat. Countdown to Power. I think you're right, referring to Bart Roberts' comment. But it won't help them. The longer their scandals and the more seats they'll lose. Well, one of the things about the Rwanda scheme is it's not going to stop people coming across the channel. It's going to stop people declaring themselves to be asylum seekers when they get to the other side. And all this helps is the people traffickers, because then these people aren't safe once they get into the UK and are liable to be exploited by the people who bring them across the channel. Work for us or we'll turn you over to the authorities. What do you want us to do? Well, we're going to sell you into sex trafficking. Okay. Is there anything I can do about it? No, can't go to the authorities because you'd have to say you're an asylum seeker and then they'll send you to Rwanda. The only people that are going to benefit from the Rwanda scheme, apart from the government of Rwanda, who are sitting there on 290 million pounds. I think we're learning where all this money went. 290 million pounds that was spent so far on the Rwanda scheme. That's going to help nobody except the people smugglers. And we're already seeing over 4,000 asylum seekers who declared themselves asylum seekers have gone missing. Because that's what you'll do. I mean, if it's a one-way ticket to Rwanda or, stay in the UK and be exploited, people are going to choose to stay in the UK and be exploited, unfortunately. And that's the system the Tories have set up because they're fucking evil. Sorry to swear. Sorry, Mum. Anyway, very quickly, because it's 3 minutes past 10. I did start early today, so it's a bit of a bumper show for you. And I've got the agenda at 1 o'clock, and we've got Labour Social tonight at 9. Bit of a packed schedule today. And I'm going to get that bloody moment of truth finished. Hopefully that'll come out this morning. I'm just going to bring up tomorrow's papers today. Oh, look at me. I'm dead. Look at that. I don't know what has happened to me. Go little Graham. There you go. That's something I want to say. Anyway, so the Independent, everything's different today on the papers. I don't think there's two headlines the same. The PM is set for Titanic battle with Lords over Rwanda bill. The Titanic famously being the ship that sank on its maiden voyage. Good word to use. Good adjective. Yusuf backs off. Jan talks amid controversy. This is to do with the Scottish First Minister. I don't know anything about this. And there's a picture of Prince William looking sad because his wife's had to have surgery, which is not very pleasant, and wouldn't wish it on anyone. This is a terrible story in the Mirror, which links up with something I was saying earlier. Left to rot, as bad teeth sends 116 children a day to hospital, and a staggering 40% are not getting regular NHS checkups. We asked why our kids are being left to rot. Well, because the Tories have been in power for 14 years. I can answer that for you. This is a horrible story in the Telegraph here, not least because it's got fucking that gobshite, what's his name, Trump on the front cover. Sorry for inflicting him this early in the morning, but this story, NATO warns of war with Russia in the next 20 years. I'm not going to dive into it. I've read it, and it's like it's terrifying. It's seriously terrifying. Russia has tripled its military capability, in the last few years. It's pouring a lot of money into its military because it's the only thing keeping Putin in power. It's not looking so good, especially if Donald Trump wins this horrible election that we're going to have in America this year, which I'm not all in for. Tell you what, though, if Biden loses, I think he should say that he won. And then storm Parliament or Congress or whatever they call it over there. Hunt plots big tax cuts in budget. Obviously, they express up the arse of the Tories saying, we're going to cut people's tax. We've got no money. You don't pay much tax anyway, mate. Netanyahu will... It's like, you only earn £2 a day after all, everything you got to pay for. But we're going to let you keep £2 and 2 pence. Yeah. That'll make all the difference. Netanyahu will not accept a Palestinian state after Gaza war. This is another depressing story. This is the Prime Minister of Israel basically saying that he's abandoned the two-state solution and doesn't think Palestine deserves to exist as a country, even though over 100 countries worldwide regard Palestine as a country. I certainly did when I visited Israel-Palestine back in 2010, early 2010. I regarded them as two separate countries. Daily Mail here with just a horror show, an absolute horror show over the front page. Don't defy the will of the people, Rishi warns Lords. They love putting out this will of the people nonsense, don't they? And we have this story from, I don't know, this people being spiteful towards Catherine, saying for online trolls. I mean, Daily Mail is the ultimate online troll. So them complaining about other people being online trolls is just bizarre. But then they've got a story about the Sussexes, about Harry and Meghan. It's got nothing to do with Catherine going in for abdominal surgery. But any excuse to kick the boot, to stick the boot in, eh? And there's a story in the Star about people having sex. And then government orders inquiry into second post office IT scandal claims. So we're going to have another inquiry, which is going to take a very long time. I don't know if we'll ever see justice for the sub-postmasters, many of whom were driven to the depths of depression by the post office, which seemed to act like the mafia. The mafia, if it was also in charge of the police. The Financial Times, finally, Arab nations develop strategy to end Gaza war and create Palestinian state. So, yes. Maybe a bit better news than the Financial Times.
We've just run the numbers.
Green shoots. Oh, there's Carol again. Sorry about that. My current favourite Viz strip is called The Mail Online. The Viz is a very funny comic. Christopher says, I just realised if Charles and William are out to play, then Andrew and Harry are disqualified. That means Princess Kate's school friend Beatrice and Eugenie are next in line. Well, maybe so. I don't even understand the argument of the premise. Is they're not going to start sending boats to Rwanda instead? Is like crossing an ocean. And number 3 says, hello, Richard. Well, we're just here in time for me to say ta-ra because I'm winding up for the day. Not for the day, for the morning. I'll be back at 1 o'clock with Phil Morehouse of A Different Bias fame, who was name dropped this week on James O'Brien's show, and got a bit of a bump in his subscription figures as a result, which is fantastic news. And so he'll be joining me at 1 o'clock today to talk about Roundup of the Week. Obviously, the Rwanda bill is going to sort of dominate what we're talking about, so join us for that, and we will include what you say in the chat. And if anyone wants to drop in any super chats and things like that on that show, you are very welcome to do so. And then at 9 o'clock, we'll be back for another Roundup of the Week with the Labour Social. So it's a bit like what I do with Phil, except more drunken usually. So kick back, open up a beer or a wine or a non-alcoholic spritzer, and let's pretend that we're down the pub and having a natter about stuff. I mean, I try my best to keep it on the straight and narrow, but we have a tendency to go off on tangents, and I don't have a problem with that. Do you? Anyway, until next time, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for the chats. And until next time, until 1 o'clock, I hope, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.